found that book and we said, yeah, that's it. One of the younger families in the church was visiting the minister. And the 5-year-old sprinted out of the car into the church and to the minister's office and said as he reached his hand into a jar full of suckers that his mother would be here shortly. No, Bodie, I'm not talking about you, but it would fit, wouldn't it? To make some conversation, the minister asked the little guy what he wants to be when he grows up. And the boy immediately answered, I'd like to be impossible. What do you mean by that? The minister asked in a puzzled way. Well, you see, the boy replied, just about every day my mom tells me I'm impossible. What seems to be impossible in your life these days? Some task you are facing as we all scratch and claw our way out of this pandemic that seems like it will never end. Or maybe you're concerned about Connie's retirement. Or the retirement of the kitchen staff. And you're asking yourself, how are we, Calvin, going to accomplish all the things that seem so impossible these days? There's a story about a young couple in North Carolina who were set to open their own restaurant. All that was needed was the final health inspection and the ensuing business permit. They were scheduled to receive the permit the next day. This occurred in September of 1989. And the couple named their little restaurant Our Place. And they were excited, as you might imagine, that they were finally ready to open. But that morning, the winds and the rains of Hurricane Hugo hit the Atlantic coast. And unexpectedly, the ferocious storm made its way 200 miles inland to their small town. Trees were uprooted, power lines were down, homes and stores were destroyed. And so the young couple did as you might imagine. They hurried to the restaurant to see if it had been affected. Everything was intact. A deputy sheriff pulled up to the couple's restaurant and told them that their restaurant, the fire station, and the electricity station right on that road were the only things open in the entire town. And so the young couple called the health inspector and begged him to come down immediately so that they could open. Huge opportunity, right? But because there was a power outage, the inspector couldn't get to his office to issue the permit. No permit, no business, no grand opening. And so with a refrigerator stocked with 300 pounds of bacon and beef, bushels of tomatoes and lettuce and bread, they decided to give the food away. They told the deputy, tell your co-workers and other emergency people you see that we're giving away free BLTs and coffee for anybody who wants to stop by. Soon, firemen, policemen, linemen, and other workers were filling Our Place. And when the couple heard that another restaurant in town was scalping people by charging $10 for 2 eggs and some bacon, they posted a sign in their window that said, "Free BLTs and coffee." Families, travelers, and people forced to the street were welcomed. Then something amazing began to happen. People who happened by started cleaning the counters and sweeping the floors. Volunteers took over dishwashing. People from a neighboring town that had not been hit too badly by the storm heard about what was happening, and they brought food from their freezers. And nearby merchants also heard, and they responded with foods of all kinds. And somehow, as the day went on, from those first cups of coffee and BLTs, they stretched to offer more than 15,000 meals. Our place, brand new, little startup, fed 15,000 children of God in their need. And the restaurant's small stock of supplies actually increased to 500 loaves of bread, 350 pots of coffee, and bushels of produce. A miracle had happened in that small North Carolina town. A miracle of love. It all sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? A little bit like when food stretches into a great deal of food and there's more than enough. Say like 12 baskets full of leftovers. Like the small resources in the story of the feeding of the 5,000, our resources might seem inadequate for many of the tasks that we're faced today. Yet time and again and again and again, throughout the biblical narrative, God not only provides, but God also provides more than enough. Think about a story from your childhood of the Bible. God provides more than enough. A middle-aged woman was driving her friend's car when she came to a section called Six Corners. Six Corners is a place where 6 different streets meet. And when the woman got to the middle of the 6th street, her car suddenly ran out of gas. Confused with the street lights flashing different colors, horns blowing, and people shouting, the woman turned to her friend and said, "You drive." Of course, saying "you drive" to another person doesn't change very much because you'll still be out of gas. But when you say to God, "You drive my life," and you mean it, you become impossible partners with God, and more than enough happens. You see, the presenting problem in life and in the church is that we think we can stay in control. What we don't recognize is that we can't, and that we are spot on, okay? And we are hitting the sweet spot of God when we say to God, "You drive." Friends, time and time and time again, when God's people become impossible partners with the Son of the living God, there's more than enough for everyone. Just like in today's story, when the people flocked to them, to the point that Jesus and his disciples could not escape them. Now that's a problem all of us scratching and clawing our ways out of this pandemic in every church in Zealy and in this country would love to have. Come, won't you be impossible partners with the Son of the living God? Amen? Amen.